All right, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Indiana On Tap podcast presented by Bottoms Up. Today, we are talking about that story that everybody's wondering about with Monarch Beverage making illegal campaign contributions. We're going to talk about new Sun King Brewing president Robert Whitt coming over from 11 years in the White River State Park and what that means for the Indiana craft beer community, as well as a whole mess of upcoming events happening in the next 2 weeks. Let's get after it. Sarah, what's the best beer you've had this week so far?
Actually, it's probably this from Indiana City, the Slow Gold.
Yeah, is that what we're drinking today?
Yeah, Slow Gold.
Yeah? I don't know if I've actually ever had the Slow Gold before.
It's pretty good.
I've had tons of Indiana City, to be honest.
Yeah, they make some really good stuff, and I typically don't like wheat beers much, but this is pretty hoppy, so I am a fan.
Nice.
I definitely love wheats. Wheats are in my wheelhouse.
Are they?
Yeah.
It's nice to have
this
a wide,
is very good.
Yeah, this one's up there for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
I can say I'm not a big wheat drinker. You know, yeah, more of a hothead. But anytime I can find a nice American wheat that has a little bit of a hot profile to it, yeah, it's definitely a welcome addition to my fridge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're here with the Indiana On Tap podcast, episode 5. My name is Adam Schick. Today I'm joined by, again, Sarah Burns, Indiana On Tap's brewer of business. Say what up.
What up?
We're also joined by a special guest today, friend of the site, friend of the program, Chris Hutchinson, a.k.a. Hutch. What's going on, Hutch?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for coming out and joining us today.
Thanks for giving me a chance to see what all you guys do.
Yeah, of course. Anytime we can bring friends on here, yeah, it's definitely for the better.
It's a nice setup. I'm not going to lie.
It's pretty great, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. You got the big bottoms up system in the middle. Yeah. Pouring some delicious Indiana City beer.
I got to figure out a way to get invited back, so I'll try not to screw anything up today.
No pressure.
Well, Sarah and I are going to meet after this, and then we'll go over our notes. And you'll probably hear back from us.
Or
All
not.
right. So we're going to dive right into it. In the news this past week, sort of a big, interesting, weird story that broke on the Indy Star. It was authored by Tony Cook with help from Chelsea Schneider over there at the Indianapolis Star. Monarch Beverage. There's being a special investigator appointed to look into illegal campaign contributions that Monarch Beverage, who is the state's largest distribution company, has made to a wide array of Indiana politicians throughout the past couple years. It's really weird. It's like $1.2 million in total to a ton of people, including Governors Pence, former Governor Mitch Daniels, candidate John Gregg, a lot of people. And it seems like some of the motivation has been they were sort of frustrated with their efforts that were failing to try and change the law for them to be able to distribute liquor. And so instead of going about it the Democratic way, they went about it kind of under the table, it seems like.
Dangerous precedent, in my opinion. Indiana is a unique state in the fact that it has its Sunday, no sales on Sunday. I think that's been a source of contention for a long time for, the most recent sessions that we've seen. Little bit worried about what kind of light this casts Indiana in. I think there's so many positives around the alcohol industry and beer industry and what's going on in the state, but this definitely throws a pretty significant monkey wrench in that. Definitely be interested to see what the investigation turns up and what that kind of means moving forward in terms of stricter regulations or any penalty.
Now, this is something the ball kind of started rolling on this about 6 months ago when the Indy Star actually posted a news story about this very thing, and it seems like nothing was done. The Indiana Election Commission usually handles these matters and launches these investigations, and for the past 9 months they have opted to do nothing. It's really kind of weird. And in fact, the people that wanted to launch the investigation, the Indiana Beverage Association, I think, Alliance. That's right. That's right. So they represent a lot of companies that distribute Budweiser products, where Monarch distributes Miller Coors.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting though is like that the Indiana Beverage Alliance and all of these other distributors, they're doing the same thing.
Right.
So it's like you're going to call Monarch out. I'm not saying it's right that they did that, but you're going to call them out when you're doing the exact same thing.
Right. This is a practice that certainly isn't new. I mean, even companies like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, like it's something that they are one of their regular practices. Why is it being brought to light now? I don't know, but maybe it has something to do with Monarch wanting to distribute liquor. Yeah,
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what kind of regulations come up after this, as far as LLCs, and if there's going to be some kind of cap onto what they can donate to certain campaigns. Right,
because that's the interesting point. It was technically it wasn't Monarch making the contributions. They funneled this money down to this LLC that they own called Vision Concepts, who then made the contributions themselves.
Yeah, and they make like promotional products. So this promotional product company was donating like $1.5 million to these, these candidates and these people in office, and it's like that's kind of weird.
Very much so, and I think their annual revenues were well under $5 million or $3 million.
Right. So 50% of their annual revenues.
Huge contributions. It just the math didn't really make a lot of sense.
So and it's almost like they are acting as if there was no money trail to follow.
Right.
Like, these things in this day and age and with the Freedom of Information Act, like we can find out, where this money's coming from, like within a day.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems to fly in the face of everything we believe.
Yeah.
Like, what America should be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Today's political spectrum is a little bit slanted anyway. So I guess maybe this is a little bit par for the course. But like Sarah said, it's not an entirely unique practice. So, interested in what maybe the motivation is, and maybe it is the hard liquor angle.
And what's interesting to me is if it is the hard liquor angle, if that law does get changed, it's not just Monarch that's going to benefit from it. Other beer distributors can benefit from it too.
Sure.
So you think it'd be something that they'd at least be acting in unison for, as opposed to trying to rat each other out over sour grapes.
Yeah, it just seems like like the Indiana Beverage Alliance is a little bit afraid that if Monarch is able to distribute hard alcohol, that they're going to have an even bigger portion of the market for some reason. And I don't know. It's like, it seems kind of elementary schoolish to me, all of this, but whatever.
Yeah. Very, very petty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, it will be interesting to see how things shake out, though. I mean,
do you think Indy Star is gonna do any additional digging on it? I mean,
one would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean,
they were kind of the ones that got the ball rolling. I guess I'd like to see kind of what happens.
They tried to get the ball rolling,
9 months ago,
several months ago with the original story, and just nothing has come up about it. And so now they're reporting that there's going to be a special investigator assigned to it. And so hopefully with their resources, they're able to definitely get to the bottom of, not just who was giving the money, but why.
Right.
What was the motive? Why go under the table with all of this? So
it was interesting to me that it was on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, in terms of where the money was going.
Right.
The larger contributions seemed to go more towards the Republican candidates, but there was, a fair amount of money going to Democratic candidates as well. So
yeah, it was 1.5 million in contributions total. The House Republican Campaign Committee got 200,000. The Republican Party 100,000. Mitch Daniels has received 117, and Pence also a nice chunk of change. But former Governor Joe Kernan, a Democrat, had received $60,000. The Democratic caucus received $40,000. And the current House Speaker, John Gregg, who's running for governor, had received more than $30,000.
Yeah.
So it is really interesting just how split it's all been. That it's not really a party issue anymore, because everybody's got this dirty money on their hands.
They're just trying to cover all their bases, or that's kind of what it seems like. But again, not a unique practice. So
No, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. What, if anything, it really means for the Indiana beverage industry. I mean, if Monarch really can start distributing liquor, that's such a big, that'd be such a big momentous thing that I couldn't even begin to think what that would
Right.
look like and how it would change the market.
And it's becoming even a bigger thing because a lot of Indiana, because Monarch does a lot of local like Indiana beer distribution. There are a lot of breweries that are getting into distilling, and even
Right.
just distilleries popping up. So it'll be interesting to see, if they're able to do that, especially with all of the Indiana distilleries popping up, what that's going to look like. So
Yeah, the Indiana market is always constantly shifting.
Yeah.
so
It's
exciting.
a hard one. It's a hard thing to predict a lot of times.
It definitely isn't stagnant, that's for sure.
No. Yeah, definitely keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
So also in the news this week, Indianapolis's Sun King Brewery announced the hiring of a new president. Robert Whitt, who for 11 years served as president of White River State Park, will be stepping over here in the next few days. He's actually already at the brewery, getting his arms around things. And longtime president Omar Robinson is finally riding off into the sunset. He'll still serve on the board with Sun King, but he's finally retiring again.
Yep.
So big, exciting things happening with Sun King right now.
So, why is he retiring? Why has Omar decided to retire? Do you know? Is it just...
It just seemed like it was the right time. The brewery is headed in still such an amazing direction. And Omar's 78 years old and probably wanted to enjoy some,
Fruits of his labor.
Yeah, the fruits of his labor a little more. Yeah. When I spoke to Robert Whitt, and Hutch, you can back this up.
Yeah.
He definitely seemed very, very excited and hopeful about where the brewery is right now and where he can take it.
Yeah, I agree. I had the privilege of having lunch with him last week, just on a separate issue, and the topic came up of one of the reasons why he was so interested in Sun King and had made connections with them over the years is just how good of a job Sun King has done in terms of aligning with different events, both community events, political events, and they always seem to be there. They've quickly become kind of the most recognized, in my opinion, one of the more recognized beverages and beers in the state, just because of how good of a job they do with presenting their brand. So Robert said that was one thing that kind of attracted him to them, just in terms of their continued exposure. With just a quick thing to point out with Bob, he was with White River State Park for 11 years through multiple different changes in political offices, et cetera. And, I think having someone like that who can play nice with everyone is going to be a huge benefit for Sun King. I think, having someone like his background could really lead to even some bigger and better things. We talked a little bit about what they're currently doing in Fishers and what they may do in Fishers down the road. And, Bob just kind of seems like someone that is going to move quickly, but also has a lot of appreciation for what the brand's done to this point.
Right.
So it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, he stated multiple times that the shoes that Omar is leaving behind are impossible to fill.
Yeah.
And he's just going to try and do the best job that he can. It was interesting. I asked him, why Sun King, what about Sun King really attracted you? And he told me a story. It's probably about 6 or 7 years ago. He was at a fundraiser for a friend of his who had been involved in a pretty horrific accident, and Sun King was there. And they brought, I think it was Grapefruit Jungle with them. And he said, and we've all had that beer. That's
That's
great
a
beer.
really good beer.
Yeah. And he said he was at this event and he saw this brewery and he was drinking this amazing beer, and it just kind of clicked of what a great thing this brewery was doing for the people in its community. Right. And he sees the impact that Sun King has in Indianapolis, not just providing beer, but providing exposure to different groups, different nonprofits around Indianapolis. And one of the things that he really echoed when I asked him, what's next for Sun King? What does 5 years down the road look like for Sun King? And he talked about replicating that community experience in other places, not just around Indianapolis, but around the state. Taking Sun King to other larger cities or up and coming cities and sort of replicating that community involvement elsewhere. So that sort of echoed what we talked about on previous podcasts, Sarah, about breweries really getting involved with the communities. And,
changing the world.
Yeah, beer changes the world. And
It absolutely does. And in a previous life, I did some work for a construction services firm. And one thing that I ran into a lot was these communities that aren't necessarily part of the urban landscape that are trying to find that kind of sense of identity and sense of self. And a lot of that is through craft beer and what that means from like drawing younger folks and, young professionals to the area that want to stay there. And I think Sun King has a huge opportunity to kind of build on that. It's already been a part of, Adam, like to your point, what Bob has talked about.
Right.
But, they've done such an incredible job of aligning themselves to the state of Indiana and Indianapolis that I can't think of a better ambassador for, someone to go out and try and do that and grow that. So it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, it was, we had an interesting discussion when I was talking with him about getting involved in these communities. And, he said, the old model, it used to be, you'd bring the business or you bring, the big exciting things, and then that would attract the talent. But now what we're seeing is the reverse of that. Talent is the talent, whether it be chefs or brewers or artists, they're going wherever they want to go.
Right.
And then that's attracting and driving sort of the economic development of those areas. So we're looking at places like, the two examples I gave him were Taxman in Bargersville and 18th Street in Gary. Two areas you'd never expect to not just have a craft brewery, but have breweries and restaurants of those quality.
Yep.
So he really is interested and focused on using the capital that Sun King has built over the past few years and using that to be a force of change, not just for the Indianapolis community, but now Indiana as a whole.
Yeah, I think, if you look at Indiana, the state, per capita, I think we have one of the highest percentages of collaborative workspaces per capita in the country. I think it's like 28 or 29 different, collaborative workspaces across the state. So what you're seeing, and I'm one of these folks, although I'm a little bit older, but what you're seeing is individuals that want to go and create either with being a maker space or, a collaborative workspace with other developers and coders. And they want to change the world for the better. And to both of your points, beer is a big part of that. So coders and developers will have hackathons and they love to then, discuss craft beer, et cetera. And I think Indiana, and I'm biased obviously because I live here, but I think Indiana as a whole is really kind of changing the game for that. And we are doing a better job of retaining talent in the state. And a lot of it has to do with that sense of community and new excellent craft breweries that are opening up and these flagships like Sun King that have kind of like put in a lot of hard work. I mean, Sun King had to fight tooth and nail a lot to do what they've done, particularly, in Fishers. And so I think that there's really kind of this, for lack of a better word, organic movement where we're tying entrepreneurship and, this maker mentality and connection to beer and how people think and get excited and use beer as like a facilitator for that.
Right.
So, I'm really excited to see what Bob does and what Sun King is up to, here in the next coming years. But pretty cool time to be a part of this and see what direction everything goes in.
Right. It'll be interesting to see the direction that Sun King now goes, just with Bob's prior experience as a, commercial real estate developer, just what that experience he can lend to Sun King and where they can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be pretty exciting, for them. And, they've really the past couple of years sort of acted as almost the legislative arm of the Indiana craft beer industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they really have.
Help, launching the Support Indiana Breweries campaign last year to help raise the barrel limit from 30,000 to 90,000, which, that doesn't really impact a lot of people or a lot of breweries in the state, but it definitely impacted Sun King and the people who drink their beer. And so it's just an exciting time to watch that company, a Hoosier-born company, grow. Yeah. And I think we're all really happy for Omar, and he's finally going to be able to kick his feet back. Yeah. And then we're real excited to see what Bob gets into.
I'm looking forward to it. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and a quick shout out. If you guys haven't had it yet, during my meeting with Bob, we drank their new rye pale ale.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's like 5.2% pale ale, and oh man,
Yeah,
it is
good.
delicious.
It's real good.
It is really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a meeting there last week actually, and I was talking to some of the people on their staff there, and one thing I do really like about Sun King, and I have to say they do have a lot of women like higher up in their staff, which is really cool, especially for like a brewery. You don't see that a lot. But everything just kept coming back to, okay, when we were having the meeting with them and events we wanted them to be involved in with us, they were like, okay, well, how does this benefit the community? How can we tie this back to the community?
Right.
You know, how does this benefit charities, things like that? And so that seemed to be something that they were very concerned and interested in with anything they're involved in. And that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, they've sort of built like their own community within the brewery too. It was amazing when I was sitting down talking with Bob, how many people, whether they were working back on the brewery floor or, you know, standing behind the bar filling growlers, came up and said, "Hey, Bob," and shook his hand. And he knew their names too. Like, it's an amazing, it seems like an amazing place to work. That everybody there cares about, you know, the goal of putting out great beer, and building the community around them. And I think he's just going to continue that. It's going to be real cool to see where they go with his leadership.
And when I was in there, Dave was behind the bar, like serving pints. Yeah. right. You know, so that the owners and the higher ups, you know, they're doing every job in there too. You know, they're not just sitting back in an office.
Yeah. That was one thing Bob said he would do over the next few weeks is he's going to shadow every single position within the brewery for at least a day.
I mean, you can't ask for a better leadership than that.
Yeah.
Because then you completely understand what everybody's going through on a day-to-day basis and enables you to make better decisions, you know.
Yeah, and you figure out where everybody fits into the puzzle.
Sure.
Yeah, which is a great leadership move.
I feel like we should have a podcast from Sun King sometime.
Maybe.
Or a remote. We can do a remote.
Yeah, we'll hit up Beth for that.
Beth, are you listening?
Yeah.
We want a podcast. We want a podcast there.
Beth, if you're listening but not watching, I'm winking at the camera right now. So, yeah.
Maybe when Grapefruit Jungle comes out, we can do it.
Ooh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so spring has sprung. Like
Has it?
Okay, so it's like 40 degrees outside. I'm in khaki shorts and flip flops. So I've been living this for like 6 weeks now.
I make a rule that once we get past the second or third week of March, I'm flip flops all the time, and I had to buck up and put shoes on today because it was 32 when I left for my morning meeting this morning. But supposedly spring's here. But
I'm counting it.
All right.
Spring means a lot of things, but in the craft beer community, it sort of means the launch of like festival and event season. You know, the warm weather is here now. We can finally start, going outside and drinking. And so we've got a lot of stuff coming up on the calendar.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. Speaking of being outside and drinking, did you hit up Metazoa at all this weekend?
Yeah, actually, I went twice.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, it must have been good then.
Yeah. So we've talked about it on previous podcasts. Metazoa Brewing Company finally opened their doors this week.
Yay!
Friday, April 1st. So my girlfriend and I went down there probably like 7:30 Friday night, which mistake.
Packed.
And it was a good mistake.
Right.
There had to have been at least
that was
300
opening
people
day,
there.
wasn't it? Friday?
Yeah, there had to have been at least 300 people
Nice.
there. And from all Facebook posts and talking to the brewer, it was like that all day.
Awesome.
We left probably about 10:30, and there was probably still 150 people still there.
Wow. Yeah,
Really?
I saw
It was
pictures,
packed,
and there was it looked like there was no room to walk, which is awesome.
Yeah,
for
no,
them.
it was great. Yeah, no, and every complaint that I heard, they're like, "Well, this is a good problem, though."
Right.
So, no,
Trust me, they'd rather have that.
It was so packed they stopped doing flights at like 3:00 in the afternoon.
No kidding.
Because they just couldn't keep up.
Wow.
They weren't using their actual pint glasses. Like they're just doing plastic cups.
Solo cups.
Yeah, it was. They had 24 beers on tap.
Yeah, they have
for
a lot.
opening day.
Yeah.
24 beers. I feel like 7 or 8 of them were on nitro. So a lot of variety.
Nice.
It was great. Sarah brought up the outdoors because they have a huge wraparound patio that looks out onto College, and then it wraps into the parking lot, and then from that angle, you're like in the shadow of downtown.
Nice.
But yeah, if you're there, you can actually see the top of the Soldier and Sailors Monument over the apartments and everything. It's actually a really beautiful
Very
view.
cool.
But yeah, we actually sort of by perks of knowing who we know, the head brewer Aaron invited us.
Oh, he's awesome.
Invited us into the back area behind the tanks, where we hung out and got to pull beers from the cooler. And Aaron's really quite a talent. He makes some really interesting beers, and all of them are exceptionally clean. Nothing's too muddied, or there's no off flavors or anything, which is great to see from a young brewer.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
We tried one beer. I can't remember the name of it, but it was one of the owners asked Aaron if he could brew a light beer. Do his best mock-up of like a Miller Lite or something. Right. And Aaron made this light beer that had these really bright like lime notes to it. It was delicious.
Really?
And so in fact, we went back. A couple of us, I was with Drew, and then Tyler from Indiana on tap, and some of our friends. One of our writers, Dwayne, and his wife. We went back Saturday afternoon after the Can Pre at Flat 12. Much more manageable crowd.
Yeah.
Much more manageable crowd. And they had like a plum saison.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go.
Yeah, no, and the space is just beautiful. Yeah,
can't wait to
go. I'll have to check it out.
Really nice handcrafted wooden bar chairs. There's big high back leather couches for people to lounge in. Tons of space. There's
Animal
food trucks
friendly.
there. Yeah, it's animal friendly. In fact, I think Tuesday, April 5th, they did an event with Girls Pine Out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Pints
nice.
and Puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I think it's an adoption event.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go to the brewery, get loaded, and bring home a
Man,
puppy.
it's a good thing I didn't go to that because
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
come home with the dog.
So yeah, if you haven't checked out Metazoa yet, definitely put it on your list. I think they have a pretty broad range of hours. Some breweries aren't open Mondays or Tuesdays. I think they're open pretty much 7 days a week. So
Oh,
Nice.
that's nice. I love
swing
those.
on down there. Yeah,
Some people
Sounds
like
like
to
an
drink
Uber
on
trip for me.
Mondays
exactly.
Or Tuesdays.
Yeah.
or Tuesdays.
Exactly.
And during the day, not just at night.
Right. I like to get drunk during the day because then I go to bed on time.
Right. You actually speak the truth there. There's nothing wrong with day drinking and being asleep by 8 o'clock at night.
So sorry to get off. I know we were talking about events, but how was the Can Pre? I watched a video of Drew, and I was like super.
Drew totally let us down.
Oh, I was like, Drew.
No. And so I got there. So for those of you that don't know, Saturday, April 2nd, Flat 12 hosted their first annual Can Pre. To coincide, it was a celebration of the annual release of the Hinchtown Hammerdown Pilsner, the collaboration beer that they brewed with IndyCar's James Hinchcliffe. So what they did was,
He was also our MC for the Indiana's Next Hot Model.
That's right.
By
If
the
you
way.
haven't got your
Plug.
tickets yet, you're missing out. But so sadly Hinch wasn't there. He had a race that weekend in Phoenix.
And he crashed.
I know.
But not during the race, just during practice.
Yeah.
Still, bummer salad.
But so during the day they released Hinchtown Hammerdown as well as another collaboration beer they did with Hinch called what is it?
I think it's like Bricks or
Is
something?
it Hit the Bricks?
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah. And it's like a red IPA.
He wanted to try an IPA, so they did that.
Yeah,
which
so-
is cool. But I think they'll be pouring that actually at the fashion show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So they did this event where, they released Hinchtown and then Hit the Bricks. People from IndyCar were there doing giveaways during the day. And then at 2 o'clock, they had people sign up. They had teams sign up for a tricycle relay.
Tell them what our
Nice.
team name was.
Our team name was Tri Curious. Yeah. Definitely
Who
a
came up
laugh.
with that?
Oh, that was me. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It was, some Tito's fueled genius right there. But so they did this. They did a relay race in the back of the brewery on these adult-sized tricyles, which really were
At least they were
adult-sized.
adult
No, they were
size.
small.
Yeah, they were still pretty small, but nobody makes a tricycle for my frame. Like,
If they don't make one for you, imagine me trying to get on one of those bad boys.
yeah, so Drew went first, and I feel like we kind of got screwed because Valerie told me not to get the tricycle with the brown tape on it. She said it was a little wonky. But our tricycle had absolutely zero tread on the front tire.
Valerie.
So you're spinning.
So as soon as Drew put his feet down, the pedals went and the wheel did not. So we were just off to a bad start. I tried my best to catch up, but really wasn't doing anything. And then Tyler closed it out, and it was
you
just a
gotta get
rough
some grip
day. It
tires
was just a
next
rough
time.
day. They did some awesome giveaways for the teams that competed. Though the winning team, they won like an Indianapolis Motor Speedway cigar box, a signed mini racing helmet by all the IndyCar drivers.
What?
Tons of really cool stuff. And for everybody that competed, they got free packs of Hinchtown to take home. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And I got a koozie.
Great consolation prize for sure.
Yeah. So that was the Can Prix. I hope it's something that they continue to do. It's just like a fun day,
This was the first annual?
You hear that,
Yeah,
Flat
it's the first
12?
annual.
Adam's signing up again next year.
Right.
That's right.
He's
That's
gonna
right.
be prepping.
That's right.
He'll bring his grippy tires next
I'll bring my
time, too.
Cannondale.
And
yeah.
I think Hutch just said he was coming too.
Yeah,
Sure,
that's what I heard.
yeah, I'll
we'll roll the
ride
tape
on
back.
down.
Yeah. But no, so then we went to Metazo after that as well.
To drown your
To drown
loser
our
sorrows
exactly.
Yeah, losing
Beer.
still win. Yeah, you still won great beer.
Exactly.
and you would have gone
Exactly.
anyways if you had won to celebrate. So that's the great thing
like
about beer.
Exactly.
A win-win.
Yeah. Yeah, you can drink when you're happy or sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now back to our original discussion about events.
That was a
Sarah.
nice little wormhole there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do we have time for it?
We'll go off. Yeah, we'll talk a little quickly. Yeah. So coming up this Saturday, we've got the next installment of Bicentennial Pours and Pints.
Yeah, Grand Junction
Yeah.
from 4 to 8. It's going to
4 to
be
8.
so much fun. Come out. I think that our bus, Air Force One, is going to be there.
Ooh,
Sweet.
The
Yeah.
official unveiling.
Yeah, it was Wrap by Wrap It Up in Mooresville. They did a tremendous job on the outside, and then Design Works down in Southern Indiana did the inside. And it's a little excessive, I think, but I'm excited to see what it looks like. I think Justin got a little carried away.
I was there when we dropped it off. Justin got a little carried away. We should have been there for about 15 minutes, and we were there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, but what if we did this? What if we did this?
It's going to have a karaoke machine, so
Yeah, karaoke
that
machine.
is
Killer.
that is when you know that it's like
Doesn't get any better than
taps
that.
on the inside and outside
Right.
of the bus.
disco ball. I've heard
Yeah.
electric guitar.
Yeah. Splash resistant seats.
Oh, my
man.
goodness.
Yeah. And then
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come out
I
and
mean,
see it. Come out and see it on Saturday.
if you're not up in Westfield, maybe you're in the southern part of the state too. Saturday is the 6th annual Bloomington Craft Beer Fest.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Of the 3 festivals that the guild really puts on during the year, I think this one is people's really favorite.
Really?
Because of the setting.
Oh, I've heard a lot about the setting. I
Yeah.
haven't been to Bloomington Craft Beer Fest
It's
before.
out at Woolery Mill, which is an old limestone mill. Hutch, I don't know if you've ever seen Breaking Away.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
one of the
so-
3 best sports movies of all time, all based in
Maybe the best.
Indiana.
So you know the scene where the main character's dad goes to the limestone mill. That's Woolery Mill.
Okay.
That's where the craft
Awesome.
beer festival is now. They may be doing some redevelopments of that area, building some apartments. So this may be the last time they'll be able to have the festival there.
Oh, that stinks.
Which is sad, but I'll be there. So we'll be there with a small Indiana on Tap army. So if you see some
Sweet.
of us, come say hey, come hang out, come have a beer. April 14th. So what is that? Next Thursday? Yeah, next Thursday. Is the annual Bike to the Ballpark with Sun King.
Nice.
Take your bike down to Sun King Brewery, have some beers, and then they'll all bike over for what I think is opening day for the Indians.
Oh
Sweet.
man, I love going to those Indians games.
That's a really, really fun event. You talk about, things that Sun King does within the community,
Yep.
and it's definitely one of the more fun ones.
I love the fact that you can get Sun King beer at Victory Field.
It's cheap too.
I know.
Yeah, like when
You
talking
can't have
about-
a bad experience at
At Victory
Indians-
Field.
At Victory
No,
Field.
there's,
It's the best.
there's so much fun. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful ballpark.
Yeah, fun for everybody involved. And then next Saturday, April 16th, one of the coolest festivals of the year is Death and Taxes Day at
Oh
Taxman.
man, I'm so excited. If you guys have never been to Taxman, you need to go right now.
Yeah,
Right now you need to
absolutely.
go and you need to eat a lot of food
Yeah,
because
yeah.
their food is so good.
Get the tenderloin, get a large order of frites.
Get the macaroni and cheese.
yeah.
Get a lot of beer.
Oh man, yeah. So Death and Taxes Day it's the second annual one held the day after Tax Day, hence the name.
Great concept.
Where they release their annual their barrel aged stout called Death and Taxes. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of a smaller event. There's usually like 10 other breweries that are there pouring as well as great food trucks, live music. Taxman has a huge property, so everybody's hanging out outside. So if you haven't got your tickets to that yet, do so because they're selling out fast.
I bet they
They're
are.
almost
Should.
gone.
It's
They're
an
almost
awesome
gone.
Their
event.
beer is fantastic.
They're almost gone. Which, speaking of salads, before we go, we officially sold out of tickets to the 2016 Bloomington Tour de Beer.
Yeah.
Sold out in like 2 days.
That's
so
nice. That's an
very
awesome
cool.
We're very
event.
excited. If you got your ticket for that, we're very much looking forward to seeing you on the morning of April 23rd in Bloomington. We're gonna
Make
have a
sure
great
your
time.
bikes are up to par. Get them checked. Get them Get the tires filled with air.
No flat tires, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need any of that.
No.
Ain't nobody got time for flat tires.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us here for episode 5. Sarah, you got anything?
No, I'm set.
Hutch, you good?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It was an awesome time.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out. All right. For Indiana on Tap, I'm Adam Schick.
I'm Sarah Burns.
I'm Chris Hutchinson.
All right. We'll see you guys later.